Um, alright, so this video is just kind of out of nowhere, but I just wanted to post it because I saw, when I was looking up a build similar to this, I saw it absolutely nowhere on YouTube. I saw videos that were supposed to be like caster builds that use some of the Frenzied Flame incantations, but absolutely none of them were focused strictly on madness damage, so I decided to try it out as a build. So this is my character, obviously. Nothing exactly obviously other than the fact that it's using exclusively that type of weaponry. There's nothing too special about it. It's a level 132 with 45 vigor, 30 mind for focus and stuff. Endurance, 30 endurance, 31 strength, 30 dexterity, 20 intelligence, 35 faith, and 10 arcane. It only needs 5 memory slots, and you spawn with 2. I started with Confessor because I found it the easiest because it started with Faith and started with a decent weapon and had stuff, so I found that the easiest to start with, but you can do whatever you want. So the 5 incantations you use for the build are the Flame of Frenzy incantation, the Frenzied Burst, the Howl of Shabriri, Inescapable Frenzy, and Unendurable Frenzy. All of which are Frenzied Flame incantations, which I can show off. Here's Unendurable Frenzy. Now, you can hold it to just spew it as you walk around, but that can be very detrimental because it actually does hurt your madness meter a lot. Even if you just press it for a second, like notice how it almost maxed out. It's not that good of a move unless you have a build with a lot of focus or something to negate it. Flame of Frenzy is basically just a worse version of that, but it doesn't take out the madness attacks. Very good for AoE clearing, especially with really big waves of enemies. Frenzied Burst is a really good single target damage with pretty decent range, decent damage. Better with lock on, but obviously. Now, Howl of Shabriri is one of the more interesting Frenzied Flame incantations, so it only works on humanoid enemies and does minor damage, but it skyrockets their madness meter. So if you can use it in PvP or just against like Furrowed Recusants and invaders and whatever sort of humanoid enemies you walk into that can be actually afflicted with madness, this one is incredibly strong because you can get it with a pretty good stun lock, but it is very easy to hurt yourself with madness. And then my personal favorite, which once again only works on humanoid enemies, is this one called Inescapable Frenzy. Now this one's I'd say pretty known just because of some of the stupid shit that people have done when they fight Gideon in the Ashen Capital, where they can just grab him and insta-kill him, which actually is what I did to Vyke to get this armor, which is in this Evergale right here. And I will show you exactly where to get all these incantations as far as my memory serves me. So Frenzied Burst you get right around here-ish on the map next to the Church of Inhibition. Flame of Frenzy you get down here, right here, inside of this church, the Baptismal Church. Unendurable Frenzy you get up here in the consecrated snowfields right here in the Annex Ruins. I don't know how to pronounce the first word. Inescapable Frenzy you get in the sewers of Leyendell, down in this place called the Cathedral of the Forsaken, where you inherit the Frenzied Flame. As you would assume, you probably would do the Frenzied Flame mending on this character, obviously. As you can see, I've inherited the Frenzied Flame. So, you get it down there from a corpse. I don't remember exactly where. And then that leaves... Oh, Howl of Shabriri you grab from the second layer of a Cursed Eye Tower from up near where you get Frenzied Burst, if I could remember where it actually is. Right here. Right here. You get it on the second or third floor. And then... as for the other things a part of this build, you have the only weapon that I found that actually does madness damage, or madness affliction on hit, called the Vyke's War Spear, which drops from the Vyke the Festering Finger, which spawns here when you go to the Church of Inhibition. He invades you when you go up here. And he also gives you a core part of getting the seal for this build, the Frenzy Flame Seal plus 10, doesn't matter. I just updated it, or upgraded it. So you kill him, and then you get his weapon. And the reason I really like his weapon is because it's a war spear. I've never used one until doing this build. They're actually really fun. But this, the weapon art. Amazing AoE clearing, even though it does very much hurt your Radis bar. And that brings me to another point. Your build should try and have as much focus as possible, because focus helps you recover from having madness, because madness is like madness, the more focus you have, the less madness, like the more bar you have for madness, I believe is how it works. The armor that I used for this build, just because I feel like it fits, is the fingerprint armor, which you get from the Lord's Contender Evergoal up here in the Mountaintop of Giants. And if you have grabbed the Inescapable Frenzy prior to this fight, you can really easily kill him, like really easily. The seal. Alright, the seal is a really annoying thing. I would suggest you check the wiki for it. So you do Hieda's quest, which starts here after collecting a Shabriri's grape and doing Erna's quest after Godric. And then you find her all around Liurnia, give her Shabriri's grapes, and then at the very end, over here at Bellum Church, you will give her a fingerprint grape, which is what I was talking about earlier, which drops from Vyke over here. And then, obviously, you kill Moog the Omen to inherit the Frenzied Flame, because I feel like that's a pretty obvious thing to say. Like, that's kind of a fairly important part of this. The Great Rune doesn't matter all that much from what I've found, and mostly, just what I've learned from, like, checking the wiki and stuff, is that apparently Frenzied Flame Incantations and the Frenzied Flame Seal scale higher off of Strength than they do Faith, which sounds weird, because it's requiring Faith to use them, but apparently they scale higher off of Strength. So if you're going to do this build, do pump some Strength, because that will increase the damage of your weapon, it will increase the damage of your Incantations, and it's just generally a really good idea. So yeah, that's really about it for this build. A few other cosmetic things that I did is, when creating my character, I gave them the tattoo of the Frenzied Flame on their cheek. And instead of using any of like the other normal set emotes, I used this one, because obviously I've decided to make some character lore, but that's something that I don't really need to get into, because obviously if you decide to remake this build, you can do whatever you'd like. So hopefully this has helped you make a build like this, because honestly I found it quite challenging just to have to do everything from without any YouTube guides, other than like obviously guiding me to Moog and some other things. But there were no YouTube guides outlining exactly how to get everything for this build, so I basically had to go from prior run experience and just go through everything how I thought I needed to. But honestly, I've realized that this build is actually surprisingly strong. Against humanoid enemies, Inescapable Frenzy and Howl of Shabriri are incredibly strong. Against groups, Unendurable Frenzy and Flame Frenzy are good. With a really good range, Frenzied Burst is an incredible damage option. The Frenzied Flame Seal is actually really interesting looking, and the Vyke's War Spear is obviously cool looking. And another thing about this build is that, if nothing else, even if it's shit, I feel like there's one thing that I can say about it, is that it actually has amazing drip. Because inheriting the Frenzied Flame obviously looks nice, because you get all the burn marks and the fingerprints on your body, which looks nice, but I get it if you don't like it, that's why I cover it up, because obviously armor and amplification is nice. But like the glow in the eyes, which is kind of hard to see from here, because obviously you can't really zoom in. Like, yeah, that should be a better angle to see it. But I think that the drip for this build is great. I think that this build, just damage-wise, is actually surprisingly good. Like, so I have a +10 Vyke's War Spear. I use this on enemies entering concentration fields. I did somewhere in the realm of like 1600 damage to them. Now, because they were consecrated snowfield enemies, that didn't one-hit kill them. But one thing that is really nice about this weapon art is that it actually does burn damage on the ground after casting it. So it can actually linger damage most targets. So yeah, just an extra thing for crowd control. And I'd say that's all there is to this build. I think it was really fun, and I probably won't be making an update video once I take it into New Game Plus, because I probably won't, because I tend to make just a lot of builds for fun, and I don't really take them anywhere post Fire Giant. Because I actually am yet to beat Fire Giant on my main account, because I'm actually terrible at this game. But I just know a lot about it, so I've been able to pick up some information and try some things. Like obviously you can tell from the fact that I've made this entire build. But yeah, that's about all there is to it. For talismans, I don't use anything too crazy. I use Radagon Source Seal for extra damage, Turtle Talisman for stamina recovery because it's just generally helpful, Radagon icons to help me cast the charge things, and yes, I know that Godfrey's icon would probably be better for that, but I haven't bothered getting it. And then the Faithful Canvas Talisman, I know that there's a better version, but I just haven't done Millicent's quest yet because it requires Halig Tree, which I don't want to go do right now. So yeah, that's about all there is to this build. I'd say it is really fun, and if you just have extra time or you're really good at this game and time doesn't really matter to you, I would suggest you give it a try, because honestly, it was well worth the time, and it's like really fun and actually surprisingly strong. Alright, thank you for tuning into the video. This has been the Generic Gaming Podcast, and I will see you next time. If there even is a next time. I know there's been a very long hiatus since my last post, but hopefully I will be posting some more Elden Ring content, seeing as how I just reinstalled OBS, and I've been working on a lot of builds. I could show you some things that I find fun, and just generally what I think is a good idea. But anyways, sorry to repeat myself, but thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.